The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Good morning and welcome to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Now for today's show, here's attorney Ethel Mitchell.
Welcome. I am your host, Ethel Mitchell. We have an exciting show for you today. How to take an idea and make a business from it. Our guest today, attorney Sterling Ashby, has not only advised others how to do it, he's actually done it himself, and with a brilliant and exciting subject. He's going to share with us his unique insights and perspectives. First, I must remind you, however, that whatever you hear on this show is for information purposes only. No attorney-client relationship is established by anything said on this show, and each person's circumstances are different. You must seek individual counsel.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk
situation for which you need legal advice. As I often say, you do better when you know better. The law impacts everything. What you know about the law can help you and empower you. What you don't know can really hurt you. My aim is to empower you by every week bringing you professionals to inform you. We want you to be part of the conversation, to call us and tweet us with your questions. My executive producer, Stacy Worcester, is standing by to pass us your comments or questions. Write this down. You can call us at 1-800-450-7876. That's 1-800-450-7876. Tweet us at LawTalkEM. And like us on Facebook at Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Check out my website, lawtalkwithethelmitchell.com, where you can listen live and where this show will be archived 48 to 70 hours after it broadcasts. This month we are discussing business. Today, specifically, we are discussing entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship plays a vital role in the growth of the global economy. According to entrepreneur.com, statistics reveal that the number of entrepreneurs in the U.S. is somewhere between 50 and 84 million. Globally, there are almost 400 million entrepreneurs in 54 countries. National television shows like Shark Tank give aspiring entrepreneurs a shot to bring their business dreams to reality. And of course, we all know what the Oprah effect can do for businesses and entrepreneurs, big and small. I have always wondered, how do you take an idea and grow it into a business, especially a big business? We're going to talk with attorney Ashby today about how he took his idea, created a product with it, and sold those products to thousands of customers. Next week, he's going to return to talk to us about scalable businesses and what is scalability, which is the secret, I think, to how Facebook and all these other new .com and other businesses have grown tremendously over in the past couple of years.
Yes.
So let's get started. Entrepreneurship has been defined as the process of identifying and starting a business venture, sourcing and organizing the required resources, and taking both the risk and the rewards associated with the venture. Attorney and entrepreneur Sterling Ashby is an engineer and an attorney. He has a B.S. in Industrial Engineering from Lehigh University, a Master's in Science and Technology from Rensselaer Polytechnic School Institute, and a law degree from my old law school, Columbia Law School. In addition to his business, he counsels and advises clients on developing and growing their own businesses. Attorney Ashby created Black Historical Action Toys. His company is HIA Toys and may be found at www.hiatoys.com. Be sure to go to his website, see his toys, read the testimonials of how children have responded enthusiastically to these black action figures. I want every one of you listening to buy the toys. Each toy is less than $30. They are great gifts. They are historically accurate. They come with accessories, and they are wonderful for you to buy for your children, your grandchildren, for educators, for sororities and fraternities. We have got to support our entrepreneurs. And so I want you to buy his entire inventory out so he has to create some more.
All right.
Okay? So, Attorney Ashby, you were intimately involved in every aspect of developing, creating, manufacturing, and marketing these toys. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And I understand you even went to China and negotiated your own contract.
I did.
You did the whole thing.
I did.
Tell us first, what was your idea and how did you get started?
Sure. A few years back, it was a little bit before Christmas. Even before that, I loved working with kids. I loved some volunteering efforts with kids. And I started to see that sometimes it's not always about the amount of time, but can you get their attention? Can you get them pointed in the right direction? Can you get them excited about something?
Okay.
So it was a little bit before Christmas, and a friend's child who's in the Hyattsville area, I was in a store, and I don't always buy the fun gift always, but I wanted to buy something to make them think. So I was getting them some books, and I saw this Einstein-related figurine. And I thought I'll wrap that up as well and give him the books. And I stopped by his parents' house and was like, "Here are these gifts." And the young man's mom said, "You can open them now while Sterling is here." He opened the gift and he said, particularly the Einstein figurine. He opened the gift and he said, "Dad, who is this?" Well, every entrepreneur, you see Shark Tank or whatever, the end product is a result of this aha moment. And my aha moment, which maybe others might not have seen in that moment, but it was something I was locked in on when I saw it, was I helped produce a question about something of substance from a 7-year-old.
Oh, that's saying a lot. Yes.
I got him asking his dad to learn more about Einstein.
Oh, that's great.
And then I started to learn more about toys and different things. You're speaking a child's language, right? So what else can we produce that a kid would be interested in, that a kid would be drawn to stimulate more questions of substance about history, about growth, about where he's headed?
Okay.
That's what got me
That's
going.
what got you started. Okay, so you've got the idea. What did you do? How did you get from the idea of it to actually creating it and then manufacturing and selling it?
Sure. Well, despite all our formal knowledge and getting various degrees, you need to start having a conversation with someone, get an advisor or two that you might trust and might have some perspective. For me, that was my sister. So I initially went to her. She has a business degree, and spent some time with her real quickly, and she tried to pull my idea out of me. She tried to get all of my assumptions out on the table about what I was envisioning. And then she said, you need to spend more time about trying to put together, she challenged me to put together pictures and different things to convey my idea to others. Because if the idea is just yours and you can't convey it to your team or people you're working with, you're not getting the fuller part of the idea.
Okay, so I want my audience to understand. He has an idea, and then you go to someone who helps you to clarify that idea and make it so that you can explain it to other people. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then how do you go from there to...
And each point along the way, you're evaluating, does this make sense? Can this be done better? And we'll go deeper into the process of this next week if we get a chance. But at this point, my next step was, all right, so I got some pictures, a collage, we did some writing, maybe put a couple paragraphs together around the idea, addressing key questions. And then she said, well, you're going to need a prototype.
Okay.
And so before we could get to a three-dimensional prototype, we got an artist, a professional artist, to begin drawing out some conceptual drawings.
Okay.
And with the tool of the internet, you're able to connect to professionals in new ways.
Yes.
This particular artist, Robert Roach, was in Los Angeles.
And you were in Maryland.
Yeah, Washington, D.C.
Very good. Okay.
And I didn't know him personally, but again, looking around, having a perspective on what we wanted. He's a comic book artist. And I was able to connect with him via the internet, put a simple agreement in place. That's where the law is interjected in each of these places. A simple agreement that protected my rights to my idea, but also compensated him for his contribution at that point.
Okay.
And we set a timeline in place, and we executed the agreement. Now I have a set of drawings. This idea is still looking pretty good.
Okay.
All right? So now someone says, you need to get a prototype, a three-dimensional perspective. And now I'm looking around for various sculptors. And initially I wanted to go, sometimes you want to work with people and their schedule's full or they don't have time, but the main guy I wanted to go with was in Houston. And, you know, I think my project was a little nerdier for him. It wasn't his focus. But I found a sculptor in Oregon.
Okay.
And here's a great lesson. Despite sometimes you can be very professional, you can have an agreement in place, but you also have to recognize the language of the different people you're working with. I'm working with an artist, and my document said, you'll be finished this. I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars, and you're going to finish in 6 weeks. 8 weeks, nothing. 9 weeks, nothing. 10 weeks, nothing. And no, I'm you know, if I was to work with other folks in the future, I would help to counsel them around this or some check-in points.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes.
Some check-in points that you might have with someone you're working with to ensure a sufficient progress is being made. But I was getting pretty scared because real money had been wired to this person and thousands of dollars. And I didn't really have a way to connect with him. At one point, his website went down, and I thought,
that was scary. That's scary, yeah.
I've been swindled.
Yeah.
It wasn't the case. It was later than I planned, and at my doorstep, you know, FedEx delivery, were 3 artistic masterpieces.
Oh, beautiful.
And now you're saying, I think I can still go forward with this idea.
Okay. And audience, I want you to know he brought one of his toys. And it is fabulous. It is just so detailed with the accessories of Henson. The black man that went to the North Pole was the first person there.
That's right.
And it's fabulous. It really is.
Mr. Matthew Henson from the Maryland area here, who lost both his parents by the time he was 8 years old.
Really?
You know, worked on ships and really had a lot of experience. Him and Admiral Perry became a partnership, and they worked together on a number of expeditions, including going to Nicaragua to do some work on some surveying for the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal,
I didn't know that.
They were trying to figure out where exactly it should go. It ended up in Panama, but he did some surveying related to it in Nicaragua. And when the time came to explore the North Pole, he was a leading, he had a key leadership role in that process. They've been put on a stamp together. They're buried together in Arlington Cemetery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, those are things I didn't even know, but that's very exciting.
His life was remarkable. So,
So let's go back to how do we get from there to a product, and you've got a business going. Because unfortunately, the time goes so quickly. It's halfway over already.
Sure.
Yes.
So now you have a prototype, but now you need to find a facility or someone with the capability to mass produce this product.
Yes.
And so whether or not your item is a food item you're trying to make, you know, a new kind of ketchup, or, you know, a new form of hot dog, or I don't know, furniture or something, a jewelry that you need to mass produce at a, you know, you think you can sell 100,000 units. One of the best places to start looking is factories that do this for the big guys. So a gentleman wrote a book, Thomas Friedman. He wrote a book called The World is Flat. And in the book he talks about that because of the world we're in now, because of the Walmarts and the big sellers, some of these factories have extra capacity. So you as a small guy can sometimes get in there during slower periods. And so I'm not giving away my particular factory because they're a key part of my operation. But you work to find your factory, and I actually found a factory that makes action figures for a number of the top companies.
Very good.
And I was able to, you know, our Columbia Law Network reached out to a classmate and was able to get a nice model to start with, an agreement that's a starting point that I could refine for my purposes to meet the concerns and risks related to my project.
Okay.
Travel to China because I didn't want a Kathy Gifford incident and say I didn't know what they were doing over there. I wanted to meet the people. And I'll say my partners in that particular instance were fantastic, and they helped make the toys better than even the prototype I brought to them. But for your product, you might find someone domestic. I mean, it didn't go to China because you had to. At that time, there were no action figures being mass-produced in the United
States. Okay.
But
okay.
Your product, hey, there's a lot of manufacturing capabilities up in Pennsylvania, in various areas that are coming out of the economic downturn we were in.
Right.
Factories are retooling. So I could not build my own factory, but I used the capacity of a factory that does this on a daily basis.
Okay, that was very smart. Very smart. So you got your figures.
I got my figures.
Okay. How do you get it to market?
Well, at the same time, while the factoring process is going on, I'm working on branding. I'm working with a branding guy right here in Washington, D.C. Helped great. He had done some work. You find people who have experiences in these matters. So he had done packaging for products similar to mine for the Smithsonian and award-winning products. So he developed some great graphics and materials, helped me build out a great website. You learn about e-commerce and connecting bank accounts to websites. There's simpler methods as well, but sometimes to avoid the fees, you might link your accounts in certain manners. So I put up a website there and began the process of trying to market through online.
Okay.
Same time, you also have to deal with logistics. This is a physical product. I had to work with a shipping company and some testing companies to get the products tested and then shipped back to D.C. I'll say one thing I fell short on. When my products finally arrived, they arrived the day they were in Baltimore Harbor on Christmas Day.
Oh my! So you missed the Christmas.
I missed
season.
Christmas, but I was optimistic that for Black History Month, that I could still make they was able to launch during Black History Month.
Okay.
But initially they were in the harbor there. I mean, again, as an entrepreneur, remember to keep in mind there might be 10 to 15 major points you must get right. You can get if you miss out on 2 of those and you fail badly at 2 of those, it could be the downfall of your whole project. Now, ideally, so it's important to know that it's not just enough to have an idea. You have to get the model right, of the key factors that are going to shape the outcome of your business. For me, that the shipping logistics matter didn't kill me, but I was able to work through it. But still, we're still wrestling with how to connect to our customers around the country and be a greater resource to moms and educators and historians.
Okay. Listeners, I hope that you will definitely go to HIAtoys.com and see these beautiful figures. I mean, they are even better live, I can say, because he brought one in than they look on the website. Again, make sure that you go to his website and order some of these products, please. If you want more information, you can contact me at Ethel Mitchell at Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. We have a link to your website.
Okay.
His contact information is on that website as well, and you can contact him at Sterling.Ashby, that's Ashby, ASHBY at gmail.com, or via Twitter at SASHBY. Okay, the Facebook page for his company is called Black Action Heroes.
Yes.
Right? So definitely I want you to support him. And he's going to come back next week so we can talk and try to educate you on how to make a business big. How does it scale up?
That's right.
How do you go from the idea to a large amount of money, so to speak? How that's done.
Right, to design with the end in mind. For me, it was important to begin to see it as a series, right? So I didn't just start with one toy. Right?
Okay.
And while it's important to convey history, I also thought it was important to convey history in a new and innovative way. Okay. So the initial series, I wanted to have 3 toys. To me, the model of American Girl, a series of dolls where the initial person built out 10 to 15 dolls, then she sold it to Mattel. You have to have the exit in mind, how you might exit.
Okay. So you start with the end in mind is what you're suggesting.
Yes, I am.
Okay. And you have a woman toy, is that right?
Yes.
What's her name?
Miss Bessie Coleman.
Who is she?
The first African-American woman to fly a plane.
Very good.
And she's originally from eastern Texas. She made her way to Chicago. She got some supporters for her wild and crazy idea at the time that she could fly. And she got some supporters. No one in the United States would teach her how to fly. She made her way to France, got some lessons, and she turned herself into a household name. by becoming a barnstormer, she, flying tricks.
I think I've heard of her.
Every town she would set foot in, she was, the biggest attraction in the whole town. But because she dared to dream, she dared to go further. She dared to move forward with her vision. I mean, what a fantastic story! And
that's a great story.
She did pass away from an accident somewhere later on in her career, but she really went for it. She really,
that is great.
Made some inroads.
Mothers, fathers out there, I want you to buy these toys, and that sounds like a great toy, because when you get the toy, you also will research. It will encourage your child to research and find out the stories behind the toys. That's the idea. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. This is Attorney Ethel Mitchell, and this is Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. We are continuing to bring you important information that you can really use. I want everyone to listen every Saturday. All of March, we're going to be talking about business. Next week, we're going to talk about how to design and create a scalable business, meaning a business that can get very large. The following week, we're going to talk about what is a corporation, what is a LLC, how do you form them, because a lot of people really don't know. So I have a lawyer coming in talking about that. The following week, we're going to be talking about how you do government contracting. I have a lawyer who is an expert in government contracting. And if there's time, we're going to talk about how do you get certified to get as a woman-owned business or veteran-owned business, or, how you get those set-asides, because there's literally millions and millions of dollars in those kinds of contracts.
Yes.
In April, I have lined up a lawyer who is an expert in churches and how churches are organized and how they should be, what the law is in terms of how you organize and run a church. So all the people out there who are listening, please make sure that your pastors know that this is coming up in April. Anybody in a nonprofit, I ask you to encourage them to be listening, because in April we're going to be talking about nonprofit law and how you create it and how you get the tax deductions and so forth like that. And then in May, we're going to do veterans. The plan is to bring in a military lawyer who is an expert in military law, and he's offered to talk about the sexual harassment cases in the military, what's going on in the military as far as the law is concerned, how people in the military are defended, what their rights are. Then I have other people coming in talking about veterans benefits and what's available, not just to veterans, but to their spouses as well. So we've got a good lineup here, and I hope that people will support us by going to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell on Facebook. Like us there, tweet us at LawTalkEM, and be in touch with us. I do wills, trust, and estate planning. I have to say that because that's how I make my living. I only do wills, trusts, power of attorneys, probates. Those I help people to protect themselves with power of attorneys when they get sick, have things in place so that the right person is able to take care of you, take care of your money, pay your bills. I help people to establish funds and trusts to take care of their children if something happens to them. A lot of people have these big insurance policies, but they really don't have anybody to manage that money if something were to happen to them. And that's the kind of thing that I specialize in. That's the only thing that I do in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. So, Attorney Ashby, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation.
If you were to be able to give 3 suggestions to anybody becoming an entrepreneur, what would they be? Tell us just very briefly, what would you suggest are the important things that people need to know when they're trying to start their own business, or they have a business and they want to get it up off the ground or make it better?
Well, one, the idea of selling. You can experiment with selling much sooner, right? Don't.
Okay.
We all have day jobs. We all have different things we do. But the idea of exchanging and selling an idea or selling a product to someone is something that we can practice even while we're waiting to refine our idea.
How do you mean? How would that work?
Oh, I mean, I could learn how to sell, for like jewelry or pocketbooks or something. I'm not saying so.
Oh, sell something else.
The process of selling is not an innate skill. It is something. It's a muscle that you need to improve upon. You need to learn how to read people. One of my bosses at a law firm I was at before, he said some of his great experiences were from selling shoes in college.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I never thought of that. Well, I think that is great information. I hope that you all have learned and you have listened and you will be in touch with us. Thank you so much, Attorney Ashby. And listeners, I want you to go to his website, HIAtoys.com. Buy those toys. Buy them in groups and numbers. Give them as prizes in schools and competitions. Use them as the focus point for stories and teach history by them. Continue to be with us. Support us, please, because we're trying to bring you really good information. And I thank you for listening. This is Attorney Ethel Mitchell. You can reach me at 202-772-1988. My website for my law firm is willsandtrusts.net. So you can also find out I have definitions on there, and you can reach me there. Thank you and have a good day. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Be sure to tune in next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. for another informative broadcast. To reach Attorney Mitchell, you may do so by calling 202-772-1988. That's 202-772-1988. Or log on to her website, www.lawtalkwithethelmitchell.com.
Okay, so just type the job website address here. That's it. Then you enter what job you're looking for there.
Electrician. This is Peter. Recently, he got help going on the internet for the first time to look for a new job.
Okay, then you just hit search and...
In the past, Peter's gotten work through people he knew, but he heard there were more jobs online.
There we go.
These are all for me?
Uh-huh.
Really?
He had no idea just how many.
I can't believe it. This one looks good.
Peter is thinking the internet might be for him after all.
And this is just one website.
Wow. Why didn't I do this sooner?
See what the internet can help you do at everyoneon.org or call 1-855-387-9166 to find a free training class near you. Brought to you by Connect to Compete and the Ad Council.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So we all know we've got a lot of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks gather surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
1450 WOL, Washington, D.C., and WPRS HD2, Waldorf, Washington, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
I'm Dr. Mary Harris for Journey to Wellness. Around half of the current 90,000 patients on some kind of organ donation waiting list are African Americans, but there is a shortage of black organ donors. Victoria Dent, chairman of the Linkage to Life program, says part of the problem is that potential donors don't tell anyone about their donation decision.
Make sure that you inform your family because they make the final decision for you.
The Links organization has published the Can We Talk Conversation Guide.
We'll give them tips on how to start the conversation and how not to focus on death, but focus on life.
And research shows that the transplant gift is more likely to be successful with the better tissue match that shows up among the same race. If you'd like to be a donor, Dent suggests
see if their state has a state registry. They can also sign the back of their license or a donor card.
There's more at JourneyToWellness.com. I'm Dr. Mary Harris.
The odds of becoming a signed artist and having 3 #1 albums? 1 in 100 million. The odds of going on to win 6 Grammy Awards? 1 in 1.4 million. And the odds of this performer having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn the signs of autism at autismspeaks.org. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
What would you give for our babies? What would it take for you to show them how much they're worth? Did you know that thousands of premature babies die every year as a result of not getting their full 9 months? Hi, I'm Heather Headley. Join me in the March of Dimes in the fight to reduce premature births in our communities. Join us. Together, we can make the research and education possible to help more women get their 9 months. Visit marchofdimes.com today. marchofdimes.com. Saving our babies. There's nothing more worth it in the world.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Gaining access to the airwaves for such a time as this. Transform your mind. Change your thinking. This is The Bev Smith Show.
We're talking to Dr. Steve Perry, founder of Capital Preparatory Magnet School, an educator, commentator for CNN, and now the host of an 8-week series on TV One that premieres September the 26th about saving sons. You can find out more about Dr. Perry by going to his site, Dr.-Steve Perry, that's STEVEPERRY.com, or pick up a copy of his book, Teachers Union Exposed, or Push Has Come to Shove. Steve, I have to ask you this before we run out of time. Politically, there is no debate about education, but what we have seen behind the scenes is that a move against education as we know it today. What's ahead? If our politicians aren't talking about it but going in the back rooms and trying to change, if school boards are failing, because they are. I mean, the school boards have become so political, the child is getting lost in the political power struggle. That's my opinion. I want to know what yours is. What's ahead?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, there are billions of dollars at stake here. So anytime there's money, it's going to get people's attention. Sadly, the intrinsic value of the child has been lost in this, but let's just put that aside because it seems like everybody else has. Modern education will change. We've seen the last generation of big, gigantic buildings being built. This is the last one. Going forward, education will be streamlined. The teachers' unions are right. There will be some level of privatization because there's an expectation that some organizations can do it better. But private doesn't necessarily mean better, and no one should ever be fooled into that either. What we also hopefully will see is that the black churches will, in fact, wake up as the sleeping giants that they are. They own every daggum thing in the community anyway, so why not start some schools? Why not start some schools much in the same way that the Italians did with the Roman Catholic schools? And some of the other ethnic groups have done to, in some way, shore up their communities. So we're going to see more providers of education because the water's already out of the cup. There are 51,000 children currently on a waiting list in just New York City alone. At Capital Prep in Hartford, there are 2,000 children on a waiting list. we're going to accept 40 kids next year. Parents have had enough of being forced to go to failed schools that just because they're at the bottom of their street. So things will change. They most certainly will. And, in fact, we will win. The reformers will win. Dr. King said it best, no lie can live forever. Segregation couldn't live forever. And many other things will die. And one thing that will die is this notion that just because you're born into poverty, that you got to be educated in poverty, and you have to die in poverty.
If I'm listening and I am a parent and I am looking at Chicago's teachers on strike, I'm hearing rumblings everywhere else. I know that the school that's in my community or that I get my child up early and put her on a bus to go to does not do the job. What do I do?
Well, that's a great question, Beth, because that's one of the things that parents are often not given credit for. They wake their child up, send them to school for 6.5 hours. They get to the school, they come back there not 6.5 hours smarter.